Hi, it's Linda with No Frills ASMR. I found this, what do you call it, a flyer? I think it was an insert that was stuck to a magazine. And it is about the history of the U.S. automobile. A special fold-out presentation sponsored by Bayer. Now I think of Bayer as Bayer aspirin. But I saw in the back here, they have a picture of an airplane. And it says, by the way, this fold out is from the 1990s, I'm pretty sure. It says, when it comes to making material choices in the 90s, cost is a big consideration, but a low-cost choice is no bargain if it compromises the quality of the molded fascia. Now there's a high-value answer, new rim light from Bayer Corporation. So apparently they had a polymers division, which I didn't even know, but that's not surprising. So here we have on the cover, I don't know, maybe this is a Model T. This is a Buick and a BMW. And probably in 1990s, this would have been a brand new car at that time. So it's a fold out, so let's see what we have. This is an ad for Bayer. We cure more headaches than you think. Bayer is an international research-based company in healthcare, chemicals, and image technology. 1990. I wonder if this is around the time Bayer bought out Monsanto. Is that how you say that? Monsanto? Who ended up having tons of controversy over Roundup spray for bugs. Or was it an herbicide? I guess it was for weeds. But they were mixing it in with the seed. It was a big hoopla. We'll have to do a video about that. But it ended up not looking... It was a bad buy for Bayer, I think. Okay, ooh, what have we here? So we have the history of the U.S. automobile. Well, we certainly can't read all this. That's a lot. But we'll take a look and see what it says. So this says the experimenters, 1860 to 1899. 1860, Reuben Plass in New York City reported to build a gas-fueled, spark-ignited piston engine for a fire truck. And maybe that's a picture of it. You know, I think I saw one of these very old fire trucks. In Pittsburgh, there is a museum in the Frick where they have all these old cars. And I kind of think I saw that. 1887, which would make sense because Bayer, I mean that photo might be from there because Bayer says 100 Bayer Road, Pittsburgh, PA. So, I don't know, maybe. Anyway. Let's see. Ransom E. Olds developed a steam-powered vehicle. So that's Olds of Oldsmobile. 1893, Frank and Charles Duryea drive America's first successful gasoline engine vehicle through the streets of Springfield, Massachusetts. I've never heard of the Duryea. 1894, Elwood P. Haynes and Edgar Epperson build a gas-powered car and drive through Chicago. So, different cities kind of around the same time. 1894, Henry Ford's first car, a 2-cylinder, 4-horsepower carriage, goes forward but not in reverse. Well, that might be really what that is. Anyway, 1895, Duryea Motor Company becomes the first automobile company in the United States. So it's spelled... Oh, I don't have my pen. Wait, where's my pen? Oh, shucks. I know you probably can't read it. I was going to spell that for you, but I don't have my pen here. Oh, well. 1895, Horseless Age, the first U.S. auto magazine, forebear to automotive industries, estimates that 300 self-propelled cars were planned to be built in America. Both Henry Ford and Ransom Olds developed their own gasoline-powered cars. Yeah, so I think Oldsmobile started his company and Ford ended up buying out Olds. Isn't that right? 1897, twin brothers Francis and Freeland Stanley make the first Stanley steam-powered car. Stanley Steamer. 1897, Ransom Olds starts a car company, the Olds Motor Vehicle Company, in Lansing, Michigan. 1899, other car companies are founded: Packard, Columbia, and Rambler. So by 1899, you had Olds, Packard, Columbia, Rambler. They don't say Ford yet. Develop your own gasoline car. No. All right. The New Age from 1900 to 1909. In 1900, Delco invents the first electrical distributor for automobile engines. 1901, famous Spindletop field oil find near Beaumont, Texas, presaged an oil boom that would directly affect the coming demand for the automobile. Interesting. 1901, Olds begins production of the famous Oldsmobile curved dash runabout. 1901, here's an interesting one. Speedometers used for the first time in 1901. And I bet it wasn't to make sure you're going slow enough. It was to see how fast you can. I'm sure. 1902, Henry Leland replaces Henry Ford as chief engineer at the Detroit Automobile Company, which is renamed the Cadillac Automobile Company. Oh, okay. I was confused about the old thing. Henry Leland replaces Ford, and that becomes Cadillac. Okay. 1903, with funding from Alex Malcolmson, Henry Ford forms his third auto company, the Ford Motor Company. So Ford had already worked with Olds and Cadillac before forming Ford, I think. 1903, bathtub maker David Dunbar Buick. I don't think I've ever heard that. Buick was a bathtub maker. Starts a Buick plant in Flint, Michigan, and sells it to William Durant the next year. 1903, glass windshields used on autos for the first time. So before that, it would just be open and you'd have bugs flying. I assume, well, I don't know. I was going to say they wore some kind of, I don't know, actually. Okay, let's see. 1904, Olds resigns as general manager of the Olds Motor Vehicle Company and forms the Rio Motor Car Company. In 1904, Studebaker introduces a gasoline auto. These are all in 1904. Cadillac is among the first to use a steering wheel instead of a tiller. A tiller. Oh, so you had kind of a, what would that be, like that? Like it would just be a straight line? Or was it like to a tiller? I don't know without looking it up. But a steering wheel. Okay, so that was 1904. So 1901 was speedometers and 1904 steering wheel. 1905, first transcontinental auto race sponsored by Oldsmobile. Oh my gosh, that's something I should do a video on. There is an auto race across the United States that used to happen that was like nuts. I don't know if this is it or not. I can't remember the details of it. I listened to a podcast one time about it. Anyway, 1905, cars could be purchased on the installment plan. And so begins America's debt because of car trouble. 1906, Ford uses vanadium on the Model N, a heat-treated steel that is lighter and stronger than conventional steel. Vanadium. Oh, that's interesting. 1906, race driver Ray Harron develops a spring-mounted automobile bumper. Smart. 1907, a 4-cylinder engine with sliding transmission introduced by Buick. 1908, steering wheels moved to the left-hand side on most autos. To the left-hand side unless you're in a British country colony. 1908, first grooved automobile tire appears. First grooved automobile. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine before that they were just slick? if it were like snowing or anything, you'd just be... 1908, Buick owner William C. Durant forms General Motors. Okay, interesting. Where did we read about? Anyway, whatever. Okay. So the Buick owner, William C. Durant, forms General Motors, and the Ransom Olds formed Rio Motors. There were so many different car companies. There were just loads and loads of them at first. Like how there used to be soda pop, and every town had like 10 different regional soda pops, or whatever you want to call them. I call them soda pops. It was kind of like that with cars. Like, I think every city had a couple of different people trying to make automobiles. Maybe not as much as soda pop, but there were quite a few. Anyway, 1908 Model T goes on sale for $850. Now, that's in 1908 money. That's kind of expensive, isn't it? 20 horsepower, top speed of 45 miles per hour with 30 miles per gallon. That's pretty good. It sold for 10,000. It sold 10,600 units the first year. That's pretty awesome. 1909 automobile storage battery invented by Thomas Edison. In 1909, first auto battery. Interesting. 1910 Bear, and they put this in blue because this is being sponsored by Bear, introduces the first synthetic rubber. Okay. How much of this can we read, guys? Look, there's all the way up to the recent time of 1990s. There's also an inside part. Mass production comes of age 1910 to 1919. 1910, Henry Ford opens a production plant in Highland Park, Michigan to produce Model Ts. In 1910, William Durant founds another car company, Chevrolet. So that, a lot of these car companies were individual companies before they ended up under the umbrella of a bigger company. So like, I think Chevrolet is under the umbrella of General Motors now. 1911, first electrical self-starter developed by Charles Kettering, and 8,000 are sold to Cadillac. A electrical self-starter. So before that, were they doing it like a lawnmower engine almost, and kind of pulling it? That would be a pretty big development. In 1911, painted center lines appear on highways. That's a good trivia fact. I bet that shows up. In 1911, painted center lines. 1912, Cadillac is the first U.S. car to feature an electric starter. Didn't I just say that? First electric starter developed by Charles Kettering, sold to Cadillac. Oh, so it took them a year to put it on the model, along with new lighting and ignition devices. In 1912, Standard Oil Company opens its first gas station in Cincinnati, Ohio. Standard Oil, aren't they the ones that have the dinosaur on the sign? I think so. 1913, Ford's Highland Park plant, the Crystal Palace, becomes the first to use a moving assembly line to produce over 1,000 cars per day. 1913. Now, if you're interested, I have 2 videos where we have talked about this a little bit. One is called The Big Three Automakers, and one is called Wartime Manufacturing. And I think both of those videos we kind of talk about that. 1914, Ford engineers John and Horace Dodge start their own company with earnings from Ford stock. Yeah, we talked about that in the Big Three Automakers, about the Dodge brothers. In 1914, what year was the flu that killed a lot of people? Ford engineers John and Horace. Must be right after that. They ended up dying of the Spanish flu. Okay, 1914. First stoplight for traffic control appears in Detroit, along with the first stop sign. I wonder where that, I bet that's probably in the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit, in Dearborn. If I had to guess, the first stoplight. I grew up in that area. I don't recall seeing it on a street. So that makes me think Ford did a pretty good job of collecting things that he thought would be interesting to future generations, and they are. He did a good job, but I bet that's in there. 1914, Henry Ford announces the new 40-hour work week at pay of $5 per day, up from $2.34 per day. Yeah, that we talk about in the Big Three Automaker video too. 1914, Cadillac develops its V8 engine. Nice. I like a V8. All right, 1915, all steel car bodies. I read that wrong. All steel car body produced by the Budd Company for Dodge. All steel. Now those things would weigh a ton. And if you got hit, everything inside would. In 1916, stoplights, rear view mirrors, and mechanical windshield wipers appear on some cars. Wow. In 1916, that's pretty early. For the windshield wipers, I guess I'm surprised. But no, I guess I'm not. I've seen those on those old. 1916, work begins on a nationwide coordinated highway system in 1916. I did a video on the U.S. interstates. I don't remember if we talked about when they first started, though. So maybe the history of the interstates might be interesting. Or maybe I did. I don't remember. 1917, Henry and Wilfred Leland leave GM to found the Lincoln Motor Company to build airplane engines. After the war, they turned to building precision luxury cars, and that was Lincoln. Lincoln's, used to be a very luxury model car. I don't know. I think somebody in one of the videos told me their wife drives a Lincoln, and it's still a luxury car, so I might be. Do they even make them now, though? I'm not sure. In 1918, Sunday driving is banned to conserve gasoline during World War I. Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense. All right, we're up to the Jazz Age. I'm going to have to skim this because my dinner time's coming soon. In 1920, Leland's Lincoln luxury car appears in September. All right, let's go through some of this. Hydraulic brakes are introduced in 1920. 21, the automatic windshield wiper is invented. 22, Ford buys the Lincoln Motor Company, now in receivership, for the bargain price of $8 million. The Lelands are ousted 6 months later. Oh, Ford. So now Ford owns Lincoln. 1922, George Frost invents the car radio. Okay, this guy is a genius, and I will forever be thankful because having a car radio has made my life better by about 1,000,000 times. I love my radio. I take road trips all the time. And in my car now, there's no Bluetooth, but I have this dumb little thing I bought for $10 on Amazon. And you plug it into your lighter, and then you connect it to a station that's all static, and you can listen to Bluetooth on your phone. It's genius. All right. 1922, instrument panels featuring gasoline gauges. Oh my gosh. Before that, you'd probably have to open it up and look in there. In 1922 also, these are 22. An affordable, completely closed car interior for year-round driving is featured on the 1922 S6. I hadn't even thought about that. Before that, there was only a glass windshield. In the middle of the winter, you'd be freezing. Backup lights are featured on some car models. In 23, Firestone introduces the automobile balloon tire. Okay, instead of being solid, just completely solid rubber, I think they would have the inner tube in there. I assume that's what they mean. 24, Henry Ford startles the world, here we go, by offering the Model T for the unheard of price of $290. So his original Model T was $800 and I think was $40, and this one he offers for $290. He had to mass produce so many cars to fill the orders that we do talk about. 1924, Vincent Bendix markets a four-wheel brake system. Later develops an automotive oil filter. Walter Chrysler forms the Chrysler Motor Corporation after leaving the presidency of GM's Buick division. By the next year, he adds the Maxwell Chalmers Motor Corporation to form the Chrysler Corporation. By the next year, he adds the Maxwell Chalmers. Okay, so there you go. That's the beginning of Chrysler, 1924. In 1924, Nash installs electric clocks in its dashboards. That's cool. 1925, front and rear bumpers become standard equipment. 1925, the first interstate highway opens, the Lincoln Highway, yes, between New York and San Francisco. I've driven parts of the Lincoln Highway. There's a garage sale even called Lincoln Highway garage sale that goes like down it. 1926, Route 66, a paved highway from Chicago to LA, is opened. Okay, how many of you have this song in your head now? On Route 66. 1927, last year of the Ford Model T production. More than 15 million were sold since 1909. So he sold... wait a minute. Hold up. Yeah, he sold 15 million. So that's what made cars just boom. Cadillac produced the LaSalle, designed by stylist Harley Earl. I don't know why that name was hard for me to say. Chrysler produces the first Plymouth and DeSoto motor cars and buys out the Dodge brothers. So Chrysler now owns Plymouth, DeSoto, and Dodge. 1928, new Ford Model A replaces the Model T. 1929, front-wheel drive is featured on the Cord L29 Roadster. And then Bayer has put in blue for us. Bayer develops Buna synthetic rubber for tires. Whoa. All right, the Depression years. 1930 to 1939. 1930, Motorola introduces the first commercial car radio. What? George Frost invents it, but I guess it took all the way from 22 to 30 to actually get so that it was commercialized for putting in cars. 1930, Cadillac develops a V16 engine. 1931, interior sun visors appear. Oakland automobiles are renamed Pontiac, which ends up under the General Motors badge at some point. Not badge, but under their umbrella. 1932, Ford's Donald Sullivan develops a single block casting for a flathead V8 engine. 1934, Chrysler introduces automatic overdrive transmissions and one-piece curved windshields on the Chrysler and DeSoto airflows. Yeah, curved windshield, you get better aerodynamics. 1934, independent front suspension appears on Chevrolet. Let's see. Let's try to. We got to read this one. 36. The Buick Century, capable of 100 mile per hour speeds, goes on sale. Whoa. More than 50% of American families own automobiles, according to the Department of Commerce. 1936. United Auto Workers Union born, affiliating with the Congress of Industrial Organizations. So 36 is when people started to unionize. I do think we talk about that in the big three automakers. In 1937, Buick and Oldsmobile offer automatic transmissions. GM and Chrysler officially recognize the UAW, which is the United Auto Workers, for collective bargaining. This was an important thing for workers in the United States to unionize. I know that there's a lot of talk about unions, but at this time it was, people weren't being paid fairly or treated fairly. And it wasn't just auto, it was across all industry. In 1937, polyurethane technology invented by Bayer. Okay. 38 air conditioning is offered by Nash Kelvinator. Buick adds electric turn signals. I don't know how to say this one. Pugo, it's French, I guess. Introduces the motorized convertible top. Wow, that's nice. I like a convertible. Foam rubber seat cushions are installed on Hudson vehicles. Foam rubber, what was it before? Like wool? Batten, probably. GM, Ford, and Chrysler corporations are called the Big Three in the United States starting in 1939, with a combined 85% of the U.S. automobile market. So yeah, I saw some people in the comments of the Big Three automakers kind of going, well, what about Toyota and what about it? But there was, I'm sure it's a very American term for the Big Three, and they were Ford, Chrysler, and GM. And those were the Big Three in the United States, starting, obviously, they say here 1939, but that went all the way into, the 90s and beyond. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, conflict and peace, 1940 to 1949. 1940, dual carburetors available on some Buick models. Ford and Willys submit Jeep proposals to the U.S. Army in 1940. So, Ford and Willys. Did you guys hear that? I think a bird just hit the window outside. Please, okay. 1941, Nash introduces unit body construction. Henry Ford produces a prototype plastic car made from soybean derivatives. What? I don't know if I've ever heard that one. The first Lincoln Continental is produced in 41. 42, President Roosevelt orders nationwide gas rationing and reduces the speed limit to 35 miles per hour for fuel conservation. 35. I know that they put in the 70s, that's when the 55 mile per hour speed limit was added. 42, U.S. automakers suspend civilian vehicle production and change over to armaments. So in 1942, yeah, they went from producing millions of cars a year to producing, I think it was 3. Literally, it was crazy. We talked about it. In 47, Chicago businessman Preston Tucker introduces the radical Tucker torpedo. The movie Tucker, as I recall, is really a good movie about the Tucker automobile. 1948, Oldsmobile celebrates its 50th anniversary with the Futurama show vehicle. Okay. Buick Riviera is the first modern hardtop convertible. Chrysler innovation includes the first key-operated ignition and self-cushioned dash. Stylist Harley Earl, who we heard about earlier, designs tail fins for the Cadillac, a distinctive feature of American cars in the 1950s. Yeah, tail fins were cool. And back in the starting about 1950s all the way through the 60s, each model year of car had different tail fins or different rear windows, or just they looked different enough that you could tell the model year just, by looking at the features on the car. It was a pretty cool time. The golden age, and then the performance era. We may have to come back to this because I think I have to go make dinner for people. I'm still at my parents' house in Tennessee right now. And their Wi-Fi is so lagging right now that it takes forever to upload. I have a guy from the company coming out tomorrow to look at why that is. But I'm afraid if I film anything beyond, well, I'm already beyond 30, but that it'll just never upload. So I may have to stop, but we'll come back and look over the golden age and all of this sometime soon. Let's just see what's inside. Oops. I don't have... Goodness, it's a lot of noise. Whoa. Look at this. Alright, we'll have to look at this. Huh. This shows the history all in this sort of bar chart here, with the Ford Mustang and the Chevy convertible, the Willys Jeep, the Ford Tudor, the Ford T, the Oldsmobile Runabout, and the Duria. I'm gonna have to ask how to say that. My dad might know, I don't know. And we have, okay, we'll look at this. We'll finish looking at all this maybe tomorrow. Oh, sorry. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.